I think we're ready. All right, it's 10:30. I'll call the meeting of the Public Safety and Court Services to order. Becky, would you do roll, please?
Sure. Mike Copine,
Here.
Keen Hudson,
Present.
Katie White,
Here.
Angie Shipper,
Here.
and Michael Pearson.
Here.
Okay, if you have a cell phone, I didn't mention that, but if you would, please turn it off or make sure that it's muted. We have any public members? You're from state's attorneys? No? Want to be? That's right, Terry, I'm sorry. Okay, did everybody have a chance to read last month's minute meeting? Any changes, corrections, additions, subtractions? If not, minutes will stand approved as read. Okay. We have no public attendees, so we won't have any speaking from there. So Terry, we'll start with you, animal control. There you go. No, there you go.
Oh,
Now
it's
you got
green
it.
now. It's green.
There you go, real good.
I don't have anything. I just wanted to, I missed last month. So I just kind of wanted to introduce myself to the new committee, except for the two men that I know there, but I don't think I know Angie. I have never met. And then Katie, I'm Terry. Hi. And the only thing that I have is monthly, or not monthly, quarterly, I do graphs of, and they should be in your packets, I think, the animal entry reasons, the exits, and it says, I was told before by the other committee that the graphs are a little easier to read. Otherwise, it's kind of a long list of, who came in, who left, whatever. It's kind of a long report. So this is a little easier. Citations that we've given and incidents. So I didn't know if anybody had a chance to look at those, if they have any questions.
I was looking at it last night, Terry, and I like the idea, the concept of it with the graphs the way they are. In comparison to the animal entry, how many of the adopted pets were from the pets that were turned over or surrendered? If you haven't, just a ballpark figure. Are they balancing out? Are the pets that are getting turned over to you going back out in adoption or?
Kind of, either that or they're going to rescue or shelter. I have to tell you, we've had a hard time getting animals actually into rescues or shelters because they're full. This COVID-19 has really done a number even on animals. People were at home and they thought, oh, let's get a puppy, and then puppy doesn't work out. Puppy gets surrendered or, whatever the case may be, and we end up with it. And so it just seems like all the rescues and shelters are full. They have also, these shelters and stuff have kind of required them to be spayed or neutered before they come. And that was never an issue before, and now it is. And we've had to wait longer for those surgery appointments. So it just seems like they're sitting a little longer than we have in the past. So we try, do the best we can.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Terry?
Good question, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
If any of these pets, I think it was in the top graph. Let's see. The strays, 19 strays, are those from around all of Lee County, and then are they brought to your facility?
We usually will pick them up, but yeah, that's most of the strays. Sometimes people will bring in an animal that they found. We try to ask them several questions to make sure it's not their only animal.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that doesn't. Well, we have found that a lot of people will lie, but yeah. But yeah, it's within the county, yeah.
Yeah, and then are those often like in the next graph, I think it said reclaimed. Are those the ones that are reclaimed?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank
Most,
you.
most of the time, if within this quarter, like if we had an animal prior, those numbers may be a little different, you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have, like 29 reclaimed just means within that quarter, they had eventually gotten reclaimed.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Circuit Clerk's Office.
Good morning.
Morning, Amy.
I just wanted to give everybody an update on the weekend court that was supposed to start January 1st. It did not start. I'm not sure if you were all aware, but I'm sure you've all have heard of the 65 counties out of the 102 that filed a lawsuit to declare the Safety Act unconstitutional. On December 28th, I believe, they made a decision in the case that ending of cash bail was found unconstitutional. Other provisions did go forward. I'm not sure, probably on law enforcement, and some did, but that did not. So the Attorney General's office filed an appeal, and it's an expedited appeal, so that should go pretty quick. I do have a copy of the order from the Supreme Court dated January 5th that sets like a timeline for briefs and things to be filed. But it specifically states that oral argument will be scheduled for the March 2023 term of court. So arguments will be in March, and we will probably have a decision sometime after that. So right now, we are not holding weekend court until that decision is made. Any questions?
So
Okay,
what are the things you're saying maybe we're able to go forward?
Oh, the other provisions?
Yeah.
I would ask law enforcement probably, and Charlie, there's certain things like I think body cams but I'm sure Clay and Charlie can probably tell you, on their department what applies to them.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, just walking in.
So I was just giving them an update on the weekend court. It didn't go.
Correct.
Because we're waiting on a decision, but other provisions of the act did go forward. So
Yep.
probably you and Clay can, give a little bit on that.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to dive in right now. So,
Right.
um,
That's up to everyone.
myself and several of the other state's attorneys around Illinois, we filed a lawsuit against the governor and Speaker of the House, all that about the Safety Act. And what happened was we were successful in the Kankakee court. It's since been appealed up to the Supreme Court. And the basis of the finding of the Kankakee judge in the circuit court was the bail provisions. It's specific to the bail provisions and the separation of powers argument that was a part of that in terms of the judges being able to set bond and the constitutionality of it. So anything else that's separate from that bond aspect, and it is an umbrella, but separate from that bond aspect when it comes to, like Amy was saying as I was walking in, the body cams portion, the changes of the official misconduct or resisting language that goes along with that. That stuff is still moving forward. That stuff has already been into effect for some time as well. The body cam stuff, which doesn't even affect us until 2025, but law enforcement is getting ahead of that because we need to. That stuff still moves forward. It is purely just the bond portion of it and the bond hearings that go along with that.
any other questions? Excuse me. Okay, thank you, Amy. Mr. Lally won't be here. He had a previous appointment that he had to take care of, probation.
I'll just kind of piggyback on what Amy had said. I am very pleased that we're not moving to weekend court just yet. That gives my office a little bit of time to continue to solidify that process of what we will do and how quick we can get through our work on a Saturday or Sunday when that comes about. So even though we're not having weekend court, we're still working on the processes within our office. That way, when that does come, we're ready to move forward very simply and very quickly with that. Another thing that we are in the very beginning stages of, and I've talked with the sheriff about, is looking at that GPS program that we have on adults. Back in April of 20, this was right about the time COVID started, we started looking at alternatives instead of putting people in jail. So GPS for adults is something that came about. We were looking to move rather quickly on that since we didn't have too much time and this came about unexpectedly. So I took that task on as far as the management, the overseeing, and the covering the cost of that. I've had it for going on just about 3 years now. I'm ready to move that from my office over to the sheriff's department. That's more of a sheriff's department role. These are people that normally would be in jail anyway. However, for various reasons, they might be on a bracelet. In addition, there are people that, as part of a disposition, are on a GPS bracelet instead of being in jail. So that's something that I've talked with Sheriff Whalen about, and moving that task over to the sheriff's department. I have been covering the cost of that program as well for the last almost 3 years. So that's something that sheriff's department will have to incur as well. But I'm willing to be patient to work this process out. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention that there will be some movement on that, and that financial aspect of it will be moving over to the other side too. Any questions?
Stacy, did you figure out the annual cost for you to
Yeah.
run that?
Yeah, so we started in April of 20, and it was relatively new. We were just trying to put people on it, figure out who and how often and when and for how long. In 20, from April to December, it was about $4,000 to $5,000. In 21, we started utilizing it a little bit more. That cost doubled to just over $9,000. At the end of 22, this last year, that cost was just over $13,000. Now, understand what that cost is. I contract with Jack Scrogstad, who, while he does the installation and the removal, that's something that I don't pay for. I'm paying for him to do the monitoring aspect of that. Okay? So I pay him a per day, per client fee.
Thank you.
Stacy, what's the effectiveness been out of the program? Have you had any major issues? Anybody cutting and running or?
Yeah, one of the situations that really has pushed this a little bit further, because it's difficult for my office to manage it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just recently, within probably the last 3 to 4 weeks, we had a situation where an individual was placed on the bracelet, and within about 24 hours, he cut that bracelet and took off.
Not that I'm trying to date myself, but I used to do that, I think, probably when the concept first came out. But let's say since that time, and it's been years, I don't remember back when I was involved, but is there a warning system that if that bracelet is cut, that it sends a signal to the monitoring device and you can tell that the person has cut the bracelet?
Yeah, so even as soon as that individual starts to tamper with that bracelet, there's an alert. And then that is set up through a contract that we have on who we want notified and how we want that person notified. It can be by text, by email, by phone call. And it can either go to the person that is overseeing that, or it can go directly to dispatch for an officer to respond to that.
Okay, so they've improved it immensely.
Yeah, there's the technology that's behind this is pretty impressive.
Good, okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I anticipate this is going to be something too that we continue to see as pretrial changes. We're anticipating that to change on the forefront. So I anticipate this program to continue to expand with the number of people that are on that bracelet.
Okay. Sheriff, do you have anything? Yeah, I can see the wheels turning. Go ahead.
I can add on to the technology aspect. We just had a situation last week where an individual was on GPS monitoring out of Whiteside County. They resided in Lee County. They cut the band. Our deputies and Whiteside County went and were able to find that where he threw it in the field. So the technology is really good and narrowing down where they are. We can set up geo fences. So if it's a domestic violence type situation, if they get within a certain proximity, it'll send an alert to us so we can respond to that area and hopefully alleviate any, further domestic violence. So it's very nice. And I do envision we're going to be using it a lot more.
Quick question.
You can see, not to interrupt you. No, you're fine. You can see where the immediacy of response is. when you start talking about situations like this, and especially about domestic violence situations or situations where there's a victim, to have that police department respond immediately is crucial.
I think it's awesome. So you're transitioning it entirely because you guys are, you're participating somewhat now.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, if there is a
If there's.
If there is a violation, we get notified. Jack would, and that's what happened with the situation. We had an individual that was out on bond from a home invasion, armed violence. And yeah, he lasted about 6 hours
Yeah.
and decided to cut it off. But, you know, Jack notified our on-call detective. Our detective started working with surrounding agencies because the subject was out on bond over in Whiteside County. So we coordinated with them. Ultimately, within 2 or 3 days, we were able to get him back into custody.
That's awesome. Is Jack going to stay on, you think, still? Just depends.
That's in flux.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, basically, Stacy and I still have to get together and work out the logistics on that.
My question was, as if the Safety Act does go through, do you foresee this being a heavy burden on your office to where you need more staff if more are out in the countryside than in jail?
My initial meeting with Stacy and then Judge Acker was part of it as well, is there is the potential that what my plan is at this point is to have investigators handle that. So we have an on-call investigator every week that rotates. So I'm going to try and incorporate that into the investigations realm. And we may need an additional investigator.
Okay, thank you.
So I know you guys are still obviously exploring that transition. Did you have a tentative timeline or a wishful timeline of any sort?
Right now, I think what's most important is that we're going through it very carefully to make sure that it is a smooth transition. And that's when I had said previously, I am not in a rush to get this handed off. I think it's most important that everybody just knows that that's in the process. But I want to do this as seamlessly as we can and make sure that we have a good process in place when there is a handoff for this. So no, as far as a specific date in mind, no.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on. And Sheriff, you're up.
In response to the Lowell Park Road speed controversy that, went to the wayside and was not brought up for a vote, we have been doing some directed patrols out in the area. I believe last week, Deputy Stewart had stopped 3 cars within a matter of 2 hours for violations out there. So we have been trying to have more of a presence out in that area to try and deter people from speeding and keep the area safe.
Good, I'll pass that on to my main contact out there that just, if I had a different number, I wouldn't be disappointed, but I answer all the calls. Matter of fact, when I was on the phone with him one day, I heard one go by. And I mean, I think he hit liftoff right about the top of the hill there someplace. So I appreciate that. That'll help that area considerably. Thank you. Anybody have any questions of the sheriff?
Good response on the Perry Road incident. The Lee County, and you put out the, on Sunday, was it Sunday? With the semi going off of 39. You guys put out a thing, the Perry Road was closed. Well, anyways, you did a good job. Lee County did. Yeah.
My staff did
Your staff did a wonderful job.
unbeknownst to me.
Yes,
Clay, you're going to have to work on that poker face. That's all there is to it.
your staff, the.
Can we go back to COVID math?
Yeah. The semi was going, I think, southbound on 39, and where Perry Road is, they just went down the embankment and hit. So it was closed for like 6 hours. And immediately, though, even before I saw like the fire trucks, Lee County put out a statement and it was closed. So excellent response time for your staff.
I will let them know. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, State's Attorney, Mr. Boonstra, you're on.
I'm not sure there's much that I can actually add to what's already been said. I mean, the majority of what we've been dealing with over the last 2-3 weeks at least have been dealing with the Safety Act. We're getting ready for it. And then, with some good litigation, we're able to put that on hold at least until after March.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Angie, go ahead.
It sounded like there was a House bill introduced on the floor again about gun control or
For the automatics.
with specific firearms. Do you know any more information about that?
I believe it passed through at least the House. I don't know that it's gone through the Senate yet. Clay, do you know?
Oops, sorry. It passed through the House. Last I knew, it was supposed to go to the Senate yesterday. I did not hear.
Yeah, I didn't see anything more on that.
I have not seen any emails or updates from the Illinois Sheriff's Association. They are pretty steadfast against it. I personally am against it. I think there's going to be some constitutional arguments if it does pass, but right now, I think the lame duck session ends Wednesday at noon, if I believe, or if I understand it correctly. So there's still some time for them to try and push it through. And
They've done that in the past before.
yeah, and I think they do have the votes to push it through, but we'll see about the constitutionality of it.
So similar to the Safety Act, would we be able to bring suit against something like that?
Somebody would be able to. Now, whether or not we would be able to, because we have to be able to cite specific harm to our departments or whatever it may be, because otherwise we don't have merit to the claim. For an example, like the Safety Act, my office was directly affected by it in terms of funding, in terms of public safety. Now, the sheriff's office also was, because you're talking about that same aspect. So we were able to bring it because we actually have a legal claim for it. Now, whether or not we would be able to do it through my office or on behalf of the sheriff's office, that's a different avenue. I don't think we'd be able to through the sheriff's office. It's more of a personal rights thing rather than an actual rights of when it comes to those specific delegated authorities.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty sure the National Rifle Association
Oh,
will
yeah.
jump on board.
Somebody will do it. Yeah.
Since Angie brought that up, there's two specific House bills dealing with gun safety. One being the safe gun storage, and they're looking to set up a 2-year study situation or feasibility situation. And I haven't gone to the act or the bill itself to start reading it because I've been trying to catch up on a couple of different ones. But who are they going to charge with the responsibility of enforcement of these? Are they going to look to the sheriff's department or local authorities, city, whatever?
They'll look to, the local law enforcement, whatever jurisdiction. So, yeah, state police, Lee County, all the county sheriff's departments, municipalities, so, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Boonstra or the sheriff?
I had one question. It seemed like a while back that Lee County did pass some sort of language about this being like a sanctuary county.
Second Amendment
Second Amendment.
sanctuary, yes, there is.
Can you tell me more about that? Or anybody here?
That,
Yeah.
it goes, there
there
is
was
a
a resolution
resolution
that
that is on file that Lee County did vote to become a Second Amendment sanctuary county. Charlie, if you can elaborate on that, I would just
It was
glance.
specific to two different bills that were going through at the time. I don't remember what the bill numbers were or what they entailed, but yes, you're right. There was a resolution that went through before declaring Lee County a Second Amendment sanctuary county.
Angie,
Now-
that might be something, sorry,
No, you're
Charlie,
fine.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're good.
I thought you were wrapping up. That's something, because it was a resolution that was adopted, that either Nancy or myself can help you track it down so you can actually read specifically what the resolution said if you want, if you're interested in knowing more about it.
So if we were to do something similar, again, we would make it specific to another bill?
Correct, if you wanted to do something again like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, just a follow-up comment that Mr. Blanchard stated as far as the update on, collection of fines. We had an update a month or so ago. Is there anything new and extravagant on a larger sum of money recovered, Charlie?
Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. I can give you the one that's through November. I didn't give it to you last month, so I can give you that one because I don't have the December numbers in front of me.
That's fine.
Okay.
If the rest of the people are interested, go ahead.
Sure. So the total received for the year looks like it was $67,641.85. And then the total received, I think as of date, is $203,637. Now, again, that's putting into total received and total through collections. That's not just the portion that Lee County gets. That's also including Harris's collection fees.
Okay. And we're not having any more ongoing issues.
No, not right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Charlie,
Yes,
what was the date we started? You said it was total. What was the date we started? What
it
year?
was in 2019,
So from 2019 till now, those totals? were the-
203,637.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, anything to be covered under unfinished business or / whole business? I have nothing here. Okay, Wendy, did you want to go through another test?
I did. I think most of you were in the room to hear my long and lengthy explanation at the last meeting. So just a quick recap for anybody that may not have heard it. I was in contact with Onboard since the last full board meeting and let them know I was very unhappy with the way things were operating. And they are working on a couple of different solutions here. But in the meantime, what they asked me to do is to continue testing and be more mindful about the testing process. In other words, if you get into something where you get stuck, to help me help them by remembering what you were doing and where you were at the time you got stuck, so I can pass that along to them. That'll be much more useful in narrowing down the scope of what they need to do to fix the problem, which I have ranked in order of priority this issue of with the tablets, the idea that all of a sudden your toolbars at the top go away and then you get locked into a screen you can't get out of. So that I've ranked at the top of the list. With that said, I do have another vote set up for this committee to take. I want you to give it another shot again, make sure that everything works okay. If it does not, again, please be mindful of what you were doing specifically so that I can translate that and pass it along to Onboard. With that said, your meeting clerk is up here ready to open the vote, has opened the vote. She's already opened the vote. And so this is your opportunity to go in and vote. I will tell you that it seems like a common error is if you're in the book, you might have to step out of the book and refresh. I know Jack last meeting went into the notifications to get there.
Okay.
No, not yet.
I know because you got out and refreshed. That's what happened. That's truly what happened.
Right. I just want the notifications.
Oh, you went to,
Yeah, I just want the
I didn't know
notifications.
it.
and it's right there.
It's right there.
Okay. So Mike Pearson, I'm not sure if you're following along in the Onboard platform, but if so, are you able to, or do you?
Yep. They sent a message on the chat board there. Yep. It worked just fine.
All right, awesome. All right, with that said, what's going to happen is the meeting chair, in this case you, Mike, you will close the voting after a reasonable period of time. So if you want to officially do that, then the meeting clerk here will close it in the software.
Becky, the voting is now closed.
And then what happens is it pops up here and tells us who voted in what way and the total tally of the votes. This all went much smoother this time. So far, so good this morning. So I appreciate you helping me test that. We're going to keep doing it all week, and we're probably going to do it again. As painful as it was, we're going to do it again at the full board meeting. Because again, at this point, what we're trying to do is collect more information about when it doesn't work, where were we at? I know we had several people that were not able to do it at the last full board meeting, and I didn't have enough information to be able to convey to on board. So thanks for that. Mike, that's all. I do have a couple of things I could report on if this would be the appropriate time to do it before you close out the meeting.
I always save the best for last.
Yeah.
It's your call.
All right.
Yes.
So once again, I think many of you were already in the room, so I won't belabor any of these topics. Just a reminder that the board chairman is working on establishing some working groups, different than an ad hoc committee, different than a standing committee, some working groups that will just do some initial exploration of topics and present back to the appropriate committee and ultimately the full board some solutions for some challenges that we've got coming before us. One of which is we know that we want to do a review of the zoning ordinance separate from the wind and solar ordinances, which we know have already been done, but the rest of the zoning ordinance needs a review. It hasn't been done in some time. The chairman is looking for a couple of individuals to work with him on grants. The process in the past has always been through the chairman and only the chairman, and he'd like some other board members to kind of get on board with that topic. Abandoned property, we're looking to have a working group that can give direction on the abandoned properties as we continue to move through that process. And last but not least, tourism. We currently fund Lee County tourism through the hotel motel tax. And we have an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Dixon on that hotel motel tax, whereas they get essentially 50% and we get 50%. They have asked and put us on notice that at the end of this coming fiscal year, November 30th, they want out of the intergovernmental agreement. They've got some other ideas for their own tourism dollars, and so they are seeking exiting that agreement, which means we need to come up with some solutions for tourism. The reason I bring this up is the chairman is looking for any volunteers. We've got some ideas. He's had some preliminary conversations, but if there's any of these topics that interest you, be sure and let either myself or Bob know. Last but not least, on your board agenda for this month will be a resolution to authorize the transfer to the Village of Compton, the property that had a fire, and we mitigated the unsafe conditions by demolishing the home that was on it. And we are now looking to transfer that property to the Village of Compton for their ongoing care and maintenance, or for whatever it is they choose to do with it. If they want to sell it, that's up to them. The reason we are making this decision, because it might seem on the surface like, why aren't we selling it and capturing the dollars to offset our expenses? After some consideration of that overall market value of that property and the cost to go out and advertise the property for sale and to go through that process, we would end up probably either breaking even or potentially spending a little bit more money than we would get out of it. So the idea is to transfer it to the to the Village of Compton, and then they can be responsible for keeping it maintained and mowed, which is a concern of ours. So any questions on any of those things?
Wendy, backing up just a little bit, the comprehensive plan that we have in place, excuse me, are any of these groups going to be tasked with reviewing that, or is that going to be left up to the zoning board of review members, or?
You know, it's a good question. Mike, I have not had the comprehensive land use plan on my radar at all, but that might be another good use of a small working group, or the Planning Commission itself. I think last time around, it was the Planning Commission who kind of took the lead on reviewing the overall comprehensive plan. I know that because I served on that a few years back when we did that.
We're a little past due, I think, on the.
Yeah, and it's definitely been discussed. I think maybe that's something we need to discuss with the actual Planning Commission and see if it's on their radar and if they're prepared to go through a comprehensive review process.
I want to think that I read something that it was there in their ballpark to review it.
It is. And again, the original plan was developed by the Planning Commission, and then it was over the years, a couple different times revised by the Planning Commission as needed. So I think it probably is a task for them, but potentially, since they are under the umbrella of the county board, maybe we need to formally request that they start that process. And it's possible, just so you know, that there'll be some needed dollars to be able to go through that process, because both times that I was involved with it, we had a consultant that kind of walked us through all the steps of that, including conducting public hearings and whatnot on the changes. So that if we task them with that, we might want to set up a budget for that.
I think with the ordinances and things that we have reviewed over the last year to year and a half, the question comes into mind with me again with this new information that UCCI just put out with the bill that's there to limit or eliminate even that potential language that we may have in our current ordinances. I'm just wondering if that might flow over to the comprehensive plan too, so.
Comprehensive plan's responsibility is to have public hearings on any ordinance change. That's why they did recently the solar and the wind. So definitely they have a role to play, even with the general zoning ordinance changes that take place. But the comprehensive land use plan is a separate document that would be a whole separate review. Mind you, are they interrelated? Absolutely, but it'd be a separate document to be reviewed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody have any further questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just an announcement. Apologize for not on the agenda. But United County Council of Illinois has said, I think it sent everybody an email. Thank you, Katie. About the county board training coming up in the 23rd in Springfield. It's recommended. It's very good training. It's outstanding training for new board members. And we can go down there, you can stay overnight, but it is included is breakfast if you want at the meeting, lunch and all the training. And we will be at least one car going down for carpool if somebody wants to go. I think if everybody doesn't have this, we've got copies you can fill out, but we will not be able to send them after our board meeting. So I wanted to catch at this meeting, let anybody know.
Remind us, Tom, what's the deadline to register?
17th.
Okay.
And are they doing per diem and mileage with that, do you know?
I don't think they are, we are. I mean, I think it's up to the county to pay the mileage and per diem, is it not?
Mileage, yes, not per diem.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Any questions on that? Okay, Mr. Boonstra, anything for executive? Okay, any last comments or questions? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Angie, second. Second by Mr. Hudson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.